Great. Welcome everyone to the Town of Greater Napanee Special Session of the Council for the 7th day of January 2026. Just before we get started, I'd like to, I wish that everyone had a Merry Christmas and a good holiday season and welcome you back to the council chambers as we get back to work on budget. So having said that, we'll call the meeting to order. And as always, we'll start our meeting out with our opening proceedings, the playing of the national anthem. So I just ask for those in the council chambers to stand and face the flag. Thank you, everyone. We'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Items for discussion. The 2026 draft budget presentation, day one. And we have Ms. Hamill here that's going to lead us through this. So, Ellen, whenever you're ready, the floor will be yours. Sorry, Mr. Grant, I think he wants to weigh in first. So go ahead, Matthew.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To members of council, we will present to you this evening starting the 2026 operating and capital budgets. You will recall that the budget is to be in line with the budget directive that was provided to us in the fall. And that includes ensuring that we have made the best use of resources that we have, account for one of the largest cost drivers that we have, which is Ontario Provincial Police billing, which is the bill itself has gone up 11%, roughly a 3% tax increase. Finding ways to invest in recreation that is not on the tax levy. And I'm pleased to say that we've conducted that. We've done our best to find a way to put these items together in a way that's as cost effective as possible. And, included in this also, you will see recommendations from advisory committees that we're also looking for some degree of budget consideration. You will see that we didn't recommend some of those only because we were trying to be as frugal as possible in this budget. But I would point out that the cost environment is tough. The biggest cost driver in terms of OPP billing was candidly extreme. But I believe that we've been able to present a budget that is reasonable and fair and not out of line with what we're seeing with our neighbors in this current environment. With that, I'll turn it over to the treasurer.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Go ahead, Alan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a brief overview of kind of what the next couple of days is going to look like going forward. So we will start this evening with an initial opening presentation on the budget, which is going to provide some summaries of the overall budget and the both operating and capital enhancements that have been included in this year's proposed budget. So those enhancements are new items that either have a change in service level or they have a material impact on the overall budget. We're going to talk about the levy increase and ultimately how that translates into the tax rate increase that residents can expect on their own tax bills, as well as what the next steps will look like going forward in tomorrow's meeting and in the meetings going forward in February, the additional meeting. So once we get through this initial presentation, we will move into the department summaries, which we can dive into the details of each operating capital budget for each department, as well as the enhancements outlined for each one of those departments, and staff will be available to answer any questions or engage in any dialogue that council has on those operating and capital budgets by department. Tonight, we're hoping to get through executive services, financial and IT services, fire, and parks and recreation. And tomorrow, we will focus on growth and infrastructure and the utilities budget. Once we have provided the information to council, so the point of the next 2 days is mostly for us to be able to provide information to council. Again, we encourage you to stop us. If you have any questions, don't feel the need to keep those to the end. Please feel free to have open dialogue when we're talking about any of the departments as we move through the presentations. Again, we are under strong mayor's legislation, so it's a little bit different on how we'll do amendments to the budget, but we will certainly still have an opportunity for all of council to have meaningful discussion and debate and ultimately make changes to the budget that has been proposed to you here this evening. We are the way that the legislation has changed mostly is around the timing of that. So we have 30 days to make those amendments once the budget has been proposed, which starts today. So we are looking to have council give us those proposed amendments before the next council meeting that's set for budget, which is on February 3rd. So we'll need a bit of advance time to get those ready for the agenda publication, and we can work with council members on those amendments as we move through the process. Does any of council members have questions on what that process looks like for us this year before I move on?
Oh, go ahead.
So as I mentioned, we're aware at this point that we're under strong mayor's powers under the new legislation that was handed to us, along with a number of other municipalities in the province. I'm not going to go over this in too much detail, but it mostly is related to timing and how we have to deal with the timing around the budget. As the CAO has mentioned, we were given a budget directive, and these were the main points that were outlined in that budget directive. Staff have worked to make sure that we've included all of these points that were given to us in advance of the budget as we worked through the development at the mayor's directive. Okay, so the proposed summary for the budget. So this is the overall impact of the budget that we're seeing. The middle, there's already a topo there. Sorry, my apologies. The middle line is 2026 budget, not 2025, the 17 million. That is an increase over last year's levy of 6.93%. Some of the major drivers that we're seeing here, we have a decrease in our grant funding. That's primarily related to the CMO transitional grant that we had in 2025 and will not have in 2026. But we also had some offsetting increase in our OMPF funding. I do want to draw a little attention to the stabilization. You'll see a line there. This was something that was related to the way that budget was previously conducted and calculated, where there was a conversation around how growth was impacting the budget and how it was calculated into the budget, where it was recognized both as a revenue, but then also recognized on the rate increases, as we'll talk about a little bit later. So we're just kind of phasing ourselves out of that previous practice, which was overstating revenues for growth. One of the largest drivers this year for our overall expense increases is salaries, as you can see there. As directed in the mayor's directive, there are no additional FTEs in this budget. There is some, I will say, minor structural changes that we will get into in greater detail as one of the enhancements to help support some needs within the organization. But those rising costs are related to existing commitments that we have, primarily through COLA, through cost of living adjustments, step increases, and the associated costs just for payroll and benefits in general. Contracted services, you'll see an increase again. That's largely related to the OPP billing. However, the full impact of that doesn't appear in that line because contracted services in other areas throughout the municipality, specifically recycling, were reduced to offset that. So just if you're looking at them, everything's all lumped in here. So as you can tell, it's really hard to kind of pick apart what's driving it in this high level view. But as we get into the departmental detail, we'll be able to break down each one of these in a little more detail for you. So again, just in summary, we're looking at a 6.93% increase in our overall levy, which is the amount that we're required to raise by taxation. So we need an additional approximately $1.1 million to operate the municipality going into 2026 as it's proposed. Yep.
Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Just that, so people that are seeing this in public see the second column, that's the 2026 budget, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it says 2025.
Yes, thank you for that. We'll get that corrected.
You know, somebody might get this construed the wrong way.
Okay, so this is just another view of this. What we are looking to show here, so there are a number of contributing factors, of course, to the overall budget, but there are three main things that affect us. There is the town-specific portion of our levy, so what we as an organization needs to operate, and then we have impacting factors from outside agencies, primarily being the OPP and the conservation authorities, who generally give us a bill and we're required to pay it. We have very little say in how that billing is given to us, and that portion, as you can see there, is approximately 50-50 on the rate increase right now, where 3.82% is specific to the municipality and our needs, while 3.11% is related to the outside agencies, the majority of that one being the OPP. Again, you can see here in this pie chart, the gray area being the portion of the increase that's related to the town, and the blue being the portion that's related to the OPP.
Yep, go ahead, Mike. I think Mike's got a question.
The question is I have is the OPP billing. Do we still get any grants? Because I think it works about, what is it, $607 per household that we're getting what our charge is now. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but do we get any funding because it's a rural municipality to offer as a grant to offset some of that? Or is that still around? I don't know.
We do still get a court security and prison transfer grant. We do not know what that amount is going to be for 2026. For budgeting purposes, we've assumed that that will maintain at its level that we had in 2025, which was $154,500.
That does not cover what the total expenses are for the court security, correct?
It must be pretty close. I don't know if it covers
Is
it
it?
all, but it must be pretty close, I think,
Okay.
Mike. I think it, if I'm not mistaken, but it's been a while since I've seen it, but.
Well, I was just, the only reason why I was mentioning that, because if it doesn't covering it, you know what I mean? Because remember, we were discussing about what the beds are, because the county detention is going to be expanding, and the fee that we're getting from them is still based on 1986, 87. So those two items, if it's not reconciled there, then we can go after them and saying, hey, guys, come on. You know what I mean? You're hitting us with 11%, but we're still at 1987, what you're paying us. So
I think that's part and parcel to the delegation that we have with the Minister of Finance, if I'm not mistaken. So in a couple of weeks. So.
Any additional questions before we carry on? So this is just a breakdown of the overall budget by department. As mentioned, we'll go through this in greater detail as we move through the presentation. This does just give you a visual on how the levy is allocated based on our departmental structures. You can see the largest piece of the pie again being the OPP and the conservation authorities, with the next largest being growth and infrastructure. 2026 budget drivers, the CAO has covered a number of this in his opening remarks, but again, we have a lot of impacts in the 2026 budget that are generally outside of our control and hard to mitigate in terms of rising costs. We're all experiencing that overall, and the municipality isn't spared from that, so our costs are rising as everyone else's, and you can see here some of the kind of main drivers that we have highlighted for 2026. As we move into the budget enhancements, again, similar to last year, SLT has gone through these a number of times. And as a result of the conversations that we've had amongst ourselves, we have rated those based on what we believe to be the priority ratings for them. This is the matrix that we use to be able to determine how we have rated those. And you'll see each one of the enhancements highlighted with one of those 4 ratings. D being directed by council. Again, that's a little bit changed from last year where we had previously, I think it was A for previously approved by council. This is D directed by council to be considered in the Strong Mayor's budget. So we have 3 buckets of enhancements. The first one here is our overall a summary of the operating budgets, or sorry, operating enhancements. So changes to our operations that are different from last year that either have a material impact or provide a change in service level, which are highlighted here. The next bucket that we have is the annual capital enhancements. So these are the capital requests that are coming out of the capital levy. So we've maintained a capital levy of $1.2 million. Last year, this list would have looked different with different priorities highlighted in 2025. What we're doing this year is simply taking those same dollars and reallocating them to new priorities. You'll see here that the percent increase on the levy is 0%. That is because we haven't in this budget requested an increase to that capital levy. We're just reprioritizing existing funds that were built into the capital levy in 2025. Any questions?
I don't see any. Go ahead, Alan.
So the last kind of bucket of enhancement we have are capital enhancements from other sources of funding. So those are sources of funding that do not impact the levy. Primarily, those are reserve allocations and our provincial and federal funding through CCBF gas tax and through OCIF. As part of the annual budget process, we are required to highlight for council any prior year carry forwards to confirm that those are still a priority for council. So we do have a couple of these. I think there is 5 in total. I'm just going to go over these with you now. When we wrap up our budget meetings, we will be looking to have some resolutions on these carry forwards to ensure that we're still able to carry those. Basically, you're saying the funds weren't spent in the operating year of 2025 for a number of different reasons, which I can go through individually for each one of these. And we're looking to not re-tax for these, but just carry the funds forward from the previous year and carry out the work in 2026. The first one being pre-engineering. So we carried $45,000 in 2025 for pre-engineering. We had previously had prioritized some of the smaller side streets being Water, Napier, and Hesford. We are requesting to reprioritize those to Center Street as staff are more confident that that work is going to be completed sooner than Water and Napier. So we are looking to carry forward those funds and conduct pre-engineering work on Center and Isabella Street. The second one for growth and infrastructure was the roads need study. So there was $25,000 budgeted in contracted services. There was actually $28,000 remaining in contracted services for that department. So we're looking to carry forward that. Again, initially the intent was to conduct an external roads need study, which ideally would be done in conjunction with the county and the lower tiers. That didn't happen in 2025 for the county or the lower tiers, and it doesn't appear at this this point in time that it's going to in 2026 either. So we would like to carry this and place it into a reserve for a roads need study in the future. Or if there's a desire for council to proceed with a roads need study independently, that is an option as well. But the staff recommendation is to place into reserves until such time that we do a joint roads need study.
Go ahead, Ange.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Ellen, road needs study. So when I see conjunction with county and other lower tiers, is this part of like a master transportation plan, or is this like new roads that are needed, or road work that is needed, maintenance?
It's condition, from my understanding, it's condition assessment of existing road base.
Yeah, and I think Mike and Wayne, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, through your worship, the treasurer's correct. So that's assessment of existing roads to determine needs for upgrades or remedial measures on existing roads, not planning for new roads.
Sorry if I may. So this is above and beyond what our own people would see in the daily course of their work. Like they make note of things, but then this is all pulled together in an actual comprehensive package pulled together for the town.
Through your worship, yes, that'd be correct. So it would be in a third-party engineering consultant that would look at the condition of all of our roads, and the intent with doing it jointly is leveraging the economies of scale, ultimately to bring down the overall cost for all lower tiers in the county.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Hicks. Go ahead, Alan.
If there's no further questions on those two, I will proceed to the next carry forward requests. So there is a carry forward request for tree removal for under contracted services. So again, we carried a budget of $120,000 in 2025. We were looking to carry forward a portion of that, around $65,000, that was not used or utilized in 2025. Again, this was due to some capacity restraints and inability to get the work completed in 2025. The intent is to look at the removal of approximately 300 trees, primarily affected by the emerald ash borer on Oliver Side Road. We do still have a tree removal budget in 2026 as well, which will further address tree needs. This was just a carry forward from the prior year. And the last one for Public Works is sidewalks. We carry a small overall budget for sidewalk work. It was $15,000. There is $10,000 remaining in that cost center. Again, not fully utilized, looking to carry forward, mostly based on timing of weather. So we'll look to complete additional sidewalk work in 2026 with those funds. And the last one, sorry, not the last one. The next one is Town Hall roof. This is a little bit different. It's not really a true carry forward request, given that it's being funded through reserves. Council has seen a report on this already, but there was work that was originally planned to be conducted in 2025 based on, again, some weather restrictions and just working with the contractors. The scope of work will now be completed in the spring of 2026. And again, we just simply won't pull the funds from the reserve until 2026. So it's not really a carry forward, but in the spirit of projects that weren't completed in the year that they had been discussed, this is included for your information. And the final one is for Water Street Landfill Consulting and Engineering Services. We carried a budget of $40,000, looking to carry forward $20,000. Again, we were they're delayed and waiting for an operational plan for the site. And speaking with the department, they do expect the work to be completed in by the end of January of this year. Any questions on carry forwards?
I don't see anything, so go ahead, Alan. Thanks.
Okay, so shifting away from carry forwards and enhancements, we'll start some dialogue here around property tax bills, tax levy increases, and tax rate increases. So your property tax bills are impacted by a number of things. Your assessed value is a large one. Of course, the municipal rate, which is consisted of both the town and the county, education rate, what property class you're in, any special charges, and growth and our overall assessment shifts, or the growth of our assessment base. So when we look at the difference between your tax levy increase and your tax rate increase, we started off the presentation talking about how the levy increase was over 6%. So what that is very blanketed the amount of money that we need to raise by taxation. So last year we needed, my numbers here. 16.2. This year we need $1 million. This year we need 17.3 million. That differential is 6.93%. That is the tax levy increase. However, when it comes to an individual and their tax bill and what they're going to see, when we calculate the tax rates, it considers your tax, the overall tax base. And as we experience growth in the municipality, there are new assessments, so either new properties or additions to existing properties or increases in assessment that grow our assessment base, and therefore that new assessment is taking up some of the increase. So if we had no assessment base changes whatsoever, tax rate increase would equal tax levy increase. They would be the same number. But because our assessment base is growing, the new assessment is paying a portion of that increase. So you and I are not paying that increase. The new assessment is paying that increase. In 2026, that statement is very true because assessment are not increasing. Previously, they were phased in when MPAC was doing reassessments. Nobody is experiencing reassessments right now. So you had to have a physical change in your property to experience an assessment change or a change in your property class. It is a difficult concept to kind of understand, but they are very different, and it is the tax rate increase that is what an individual is going to experience on their tax bill. And I'll go through that as well to help make this a little bit clearer. So when we look at the tax rate increase, which is the rate that is applied to your assessment. So in 2026, the average residential assessment based on MPAC's assessments is $219,000. So if you take the rate that we calculate that we need in order to raise the $17 million in taxation, you are looking at a 5.82% increase. So the tax rate increase is 5.8, which is really what individuals are going to experience on the municipal side. I'm going to flip a slide here so you can see that. So in 2025, the average residential household would pay $1,500 just for the municipal portion. I know everyone's going to say, oh, I pay way more than that. That's because the counties is not included this, and the education levy is not included in this, nor is the waste collection surcharge. This is just the municipal portion of the overall levy. So based on the increase in the overall budget, we would be looking to increase the municipal impact on that from $1,523 to $1,611, so an increase of about $88. Again, so that you can translate into that your own properties, it's about $40 per $100,000 worth of residential assessment, urban residential assessment. The thing to keep in mind here that's really important is as we move through this, we all know that that's the municipal tax rate is not the only thing impacting this, and the municipal waste collection surcharge is another part of that. So the way that the budget is drafted right now, we have proposed a reduction in the waste surcharge levy from $200 down to $150. So your average residential ratepayer is going to see a reduction of $50 as a result of that change. So the overall impact you're looking at is about $38 on an average residential household. I have one more piece that I'd like to go over before I take questions on this, because it's also important to the conversation. So growth. So when we look at municipal growth, this is the part that we were talking about in terms of our growing tax base. So given that our tax base has grown from 2025 to 2026, the overall increase that you would have seen if we didn't have increased assessment would have increased it by an additional 1.34%. That's the difference between the 6.9 and the 5.8. And it's about $20 difference. So that new assessment is paying $20 more that you would have otherwise had to pay if we didn't have growth in our assessment base. Happy to take any questions on that mouthful.
Is there any questions for Ellen? And I just want to thank you, Ellen, because I know that we've gone over this a few times and the way you've explained it is crystal clear for me. So I want to thank you for that. But is there any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Shank.
So, well, Alan, if the stabilization, you went ahead and dropped from 300 to 150, so that you're not doing our assessment on the front load, you're doing it on that back end, which makes more sense to me. Do I have to understand that? So and if it were at 1.1% assessment growth, are you still withholding because, there's appeals, there's everything else that comes in, the secondary ones that come in also. So is that the $26 million in assessment growth, or is it more, or is it going to be less, or are you just budgeting 1.1% because, there's going to be appeal periods and this and that and everything else? What is it going to work out later on?
So the calculation has been conducted. We know the overall growth amount, and some of that is shifting from class to class. So it may be residential and it's switched to farm, which actually reduces our revenue that we would receive on that. That's all been considered. We have a roll return now. We wouldn't have if we did this earlier, like at the end of 2025, but roll return has been finalized. We know what those numbers are. We know what the assessments are based on class. So that's the other part of this is, yes, there are different classes that pay proportionally more or less. Couple of more points to your comments. Yes, we are carrying additional funds in the budget for both sides of this for supplemental taxes, which are in-year changes. So when a property didn't make roll return, so they didn't have their occupancy, or they didn't finalize their assessment with MPAC prior to year end to get on roll return, they will get a supplemental bill mid-year. We have 2 large properties that we're expecting that to happen in 2026. So we are carrying funds as a revenue line in general government, which we'll get to for that. And we also carry an expense line for tax write-offs. And that's when there's like a shift in class, if there's an appeal, that is included as a budgeted expense line.
Well, I couldn't catch you on any one of those. You answered all those questions. One question that I have is the $26 million worth of growth. I know we're heavy in residential growth, but our dream is to have large industrial, because large industry pays a lot of this for the services and everything else. Out of that 26 million, do you know what the split is? Or I don't need it now, you know what I mean? At another day, you know what I mean? If you could go find out what the actual split is. I know we're heavy in residential, but I was wondering what that split is and where we should, where should we focus more to see what I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to where we need to strive to go to, because this is what the numbers are saying. That's all.
Yes, through your worship, I do have that information. I can share that with council.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mike. Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. It's probably no surprise to anybody that I'm questioning the waste collection surcharge. So we're talking about reducing it to $150 per household for single family dwellings. What about the price of bag tags if somebody walks in off the street and buys a bag tag? Is it going to be reduced to $3?
Through your worship, there is no staff recommendation to change the price of a single bag tag.
So the fact that the province is going to be paying for recycling, everybody in Napanee is not going to get the benefit of that then. So we had approximately $400,000 from last year that we put into a reserve fund?
250 something, 253, I believe it was. 254.
So those people are not going to get in. If you lived in a duplex, triplex, fourplex, you're not going to get the benefit of that at all. You have to buy your own bag tags. Renters have to buy their bag tags. So they're going to be paying $4, whereas single family dwellers only pay $3 for a bag tag. So aren't we getting a little bit like a tax policy should be for the benefit of everybody, not for partial. That's all I'm getting at. So I'll let you answer that rambling question.
I think Mr. Grant wants to weigh in. Bill, go ahead.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess a couple of things I would say to that is the levy itself is basically to cover the cost of the truck and the pickup. Each household, will get its share of bag tags. We encourage landlords to share those with their tenants, but can't require that. But we certainly encourage that. But it's meant to cover the delivery cost, not necessarily, charges for extra bags or something else. If a landlord may not be providing the tags to tenants, that would be a different issue.
Yep, go ahead. Thank you, Mr.
Well,
Mayor. Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you for that, Mr. Grant, but landlord sometimes owns a fourplex or a fiveplex. They get bag tags for one unit. So what happens to the other 4 units? They have to, that landlord has to make a decision whether he's going to give it to one or give it to nobody, or give them maybe 10 each or something. And then they got to go and buy their own. But my point is, everybody's going to be paying a different price now for bag tags. You're going to get 50 bag tags. You're going to get charged $150 on your tax bill. But if you, like a lot of people, I think about 40% of people buy bag tags, roughly 30 to 40%, off just going into a store or into 99 Advance and buy a bag tag. So they're going to be paying $4. So there's no reduction whatsoever to the fact the province is paying recycling, paying for the recycling. I'm just curious when you say the levy is to pay for the truck and the service, I understand that part. I still don't understand the special surcharge. I understand you're trying to get that as a surcharge, but why would it not be just if we've always had the bag tag purchase be an incentive to recycle. Now the province has taken the recycling costs away from us. We want to get more into recycle. We're penalizing people now for recycling by making them buy 50 bag tags in that situation. We've been doing that for 3 years now. I've been arguing against it. It just doesn't make any sense to me how we can have a fair system with the system we have. You can't have it both ways. That's my point. Anyway.
Go ahead, Dave.
Through your worship, I just want to clarify one point to Councillor Martin there. I believe you said it's only single family dwellings that would have the surcharge reduced from 200 to 150. It would be all of the current individuals who are taxpayers who have that. So even if it's 5 units or less currently, so there's about 6,200 properties, 6,300. If you had a fourplex, you would have the reduction from 200 to 150 under the proposed budget. So I just want to clarify that because I believe you said it's only single family dwellings, but it would be any under 5. Just want to be clear.
Thank you, Nathan. I understand what you're saying. The only problem with that is you're only doing that for one unit in that fourplex, not all 4 units, right?
Through your worship, it's only charged to the property, like one to the property itself. So it's not charged to each unit. So yes, it would be reduced to 1 unit, I guess, but it's on a per property basis. So that's the point I was trying to.
Yep, go ahead.
So I guess there's no solution to the situation that I'm bringing up. Nobody seems to have a clear-cut answer as to why we're charging different folks different prices for a garbage pickup.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
The problem is, Bill, is from what I could see is if I know you're saying, okay, this is $3 and they're getting, you know what I mean? You're getting paid $3 now instead of, and everybody else is paying $4 when they go to buy them. Point is that we know from what we've done so far with our contract negotiations with Waste Management, that when the contract's done, you know, very likely it's going to be a lot higher. So if we went ahead and started dropping, like, let's say everybody was at $3 and then we have a shortfall, all right, then how is that going to impact in year 2030, I think it is, or whenever it is, when the contract goes up? It's better to have an increase a little bit every year, all right, to go ahead to cover that bill that's going to be in 3 or 4 years' time, because you know it's not going to be the same that it is now by any means of the imagination. That's my only, maybe I'm out, you know, that's all I can think of.
Yep, go ahead, Ange.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Ellen, last year in 2025, through the levy, through the surcharge for bag tags on residential dwellings with pickup, what was our intake from that?
In 2025, 1,220,600.
And what was the sale of additional bag tags through retail outlets and at the front counter?
I think Nathan has his, I think it was up around 200 and some thousand, but go ahead, Nathan.
Through your worship, $226,000.
And if I may, what did we actually pay Waste Management in 2025 for household collection of solid waste and recycling and the disposal of same?
Yeah, I think,
No, this-
yeah,
Through your worship.
no,
just
I
wanna-
did, go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, we only have 11 of our 12 residential bills. That's just what I wanted to clarify. So I will get to the total, but we will be a month short.
Sorry, can you repeat your question you're waiting on your answer for?
So up to the end of November then, what did we pay Waste Management?
Through your worship, 1.16 million. So $1,160,000.
And so that final month, so between the levy and the sale of bag tags, we covered the cost without having to dip into any other budget line or anything else to cover the cost. So my understanding of this is 75% of $200 we collect is for the pickup and disposal of solid waste. 25% of it was the pickup and disposal of recyclable material. With recycling being removed from our control and we get no grants for it now, we have nothing to do with it. Call Terra, it's their problem. We still have the same amount of household waste, probably. It might fluctuate a little bit, but probably not much due to growth. The same amount of household waste being collected and disposed of. There's 75% of the $200 is $150, and the bag tags remain the same price because you need that full value in order to make up the difference. Because if you drop that price, you're not going to have enough money at the end of 2026 to pay Waste Management. Do I understand this correctly? That's my understanding of the situation. Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just to add, this, when we get to the solid waste budget, this conversation can happen there as well. But very simplified, we have a reduction in contracted services costs due to their elimination of the recycling contract. We are passing those savings on to our residents by reducing the levy. like for like. Yes, is there a little bit of variation, a small amount? But as we know, we are in a phased in increase with waste management, where the costs are expected to increase in the next couple of years. So reducing it to $149 to turn around and increase it to $150 next year when we know that the costs are going to increase, I didn't believe was a good recommendation to provide to council. So that's really where this is all driven from, and how the numbers come to be is the elimination of the recycling contract. When we did that, we also did see an increase in the waste side of the contract, because it is now costing waste management proportionately more to provide that service. And additionally, we lost offsetting revenue from CMO during the transitional year, and WDO, which was Waste Diversion Ontario, in years prior, that also helped offset recycling costs that are no longer funds that we receive to offset that service.
Thank you, Ellen. Is there anything else? And I know that I think there's some slides further down that we can talk about waste as well. So if there's nothing else now, we'll move on, and I'm sure we can capture anything else later on in the presentation. So go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so another conversation that I'd like to have with council and information to share with the community is where our overall tax rate is relative to our comparators. This slide's a little bit hard to see, but earlier in the year, we conducted some analysis on what our most appropriate comparators would be, and this is the list that had come out of that exercise. You will see here that the municipal tax rate in 2025, all of these rates are from 2025, we were 28% lower than the average of our comparators. This is not a small difference. This is quite substantial. To me, this indicates that our tax rates have been a little bit on the low side year over year. So even if we're looking at the 5.8% increase that we have proposed, we will still be far below our municipal comparators in the amount of tax that we pay proportionately to those communities. As you can see, some of them, like when we look at Loyalist, for example, we are more than $500 less in our community for the same amount of assessment. And I think.
And that's on an assessment of 250,000, am I right on?
That's correct.
So just because I like simple numbers, I'm sure most people do, it's on an assessment of a $250,000 house, which is a difference of $500 every $250,000 assessment. So someone that has a $500,000 house, apples to apples, oranges to oranges, say in Amherstview or Loyalist, and I'm just using Loyalist because they're right next to us, Loyalist as opposed to Napanee, it's actually $1,000 per year difference per household on a $500,000 assessment. If it's $250,000 assessment, $500. But to be realistic, there's not many $250,000 houses out there. So if you look at it as a $500,000 house, there's $1,000 difference between the exact same house with the exact same services with a house in Loyalist Township and a house in Greater Napanee. Cheaper. Yeah, sorry, Mike, cheaper. I probably forgot that part, but that's the integral part. It's $1,000 on a $500,000 assessment, $1,000 per year cheaper. And that's just using Loyalist Township just because they're right next to us. So just so I got that clear in my head. So yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Now, this is all residential rate. How do we compare when you do that same, I don't expect it tonight, is our large industry? Because that's where I'm trying to get that large industrial growth. Like, where are we sitting? Are we still similar or what? It's just something, an extra question.
Yeah, I can speak to that through your worship. So for the comparators that are our lower tiers, they would be proportionately the same because we're all bound by the tax ratios that are set by the county. So tax ratios are another part of the conversation that define how do I say this? How proportionately more different tax classes pay. So for industrial, say it's 1.4. Loyalist, Stone Mills, Napanee, we would all have that same amount. If you look at comparators outside of our upper tier, their tax ratios may be different. So I'd have to look into those, but for any of our lower tiers, they'd be the same.
Okay, is there anything else with respect to this chart? Sorry, go ahead, Bill.
Just a quick question. Is that the urban rate or the rural rate on, that we have here on Napanee? Or are you combining them and
That's the urban rate.
that's the urban rate? Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Is there anything else? Seeing none, go ahead.
Thank you. So that wraps up my portion of kind of the initial dialogue that we wanted to have going into the departmental detail. So with that, yeah, we can conclude this presentation. I just like a brief moment to switch over presentations and we'll move on to executive services. Again, final opportunity for any questions or dialogue on what's been presented thus far.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Carver.
Thank you. Through your worship. You probably won't have the answers here tonight, but I wanted to ask while it was on my brain. Taxes that are in arrears, have you seen an increase of that over the last few years of, maybe people not paying their taxes on time or not paying them at all? Have you seen an increase of that at all?
Through your worship, no, actually, we've seen our overall tax arrears continually to decline. We have been consistent with our practices on collections in terms of reminder notices and tax sale registrations, which does aid to ensure that those arrears do not continue to climb. But we are not experiencing that. We do, I'd have to look at reminder notices in a current year. Perhaps those are going up, but our overall dollar value is declining. Oh, I may have misspoken. I apologize. Do you want to speak to that, Nathan?
Through your worship, just because I was working with our tax clerk today and we were reconciling for year end, our taxes receivable actually did see a pretty significant jump from year end of 2024 to year end of 2025. Now keep in mind, some of that's unaudited too, so there could be some year end adjustments on our unapplied amounts as well. But I would say a noticeable increase year over year at this point.
So you're saying noticeable increase year over year of people not paying their taxes on time or paying them?
Through your worship, if we're using year end as a reference point, yes, compared to December 31st of 2024 to December 31st of 2025, yeah, there was a sizable increase. Okay,
I guess the reason I'm asking that question is we're asking the residents for another 6.93, so almost 7% increase. I'm just wondering at what breaking point is it where people can't pay their taxes? And I know there's a lot of this variables here that we have no control over, but I'm just wondering where we're at, because if we're falling behind on people paying their taxes, that also has to somebody's got to pay it eventually. So just was a question. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Is there anything else? And Ellen, do you need a few minutes before we move on, or are you going to jump right into the next?
I'm okay. Are you okay over there? Yeah. Yeah. No, we can move on.
Okay, perfect. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. I am going to speak to a couple of opening slides on general government. These are some pockets of revenues and expenses that don't really live within a department, but are more generally borne across the entire organization. So this is the overall summary of that cost center. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. Again, the biggest change is our increase in our OMPF funding of about $240,000. There are a couple of operating enhancements to highlight. The first one being postage. So the cost of postage is increasing in 2026 by 25% per piece of mail, which will have a material impact on our budget. That being said, we of course are working through going live with our ability to do e-billing on both taxes and utilities. So we do expect to see some offsetting decreases once that gets up and running. So there is a partial increase here. Again, we wanted to hold some contingencies for possible continual mail strikes and other creative solutions that we may have to look at if we continue to experience disruptions in our mail delivery. So there's a $5,000 increase that we feel is warranted to continue to provide that service. Any questions on that particular one before I move on to the next enhancement? Seeing none. Legal, so over the last couple of years, we have seen some increases in our legal costs. We are recommending that we carry a higher legal budget based on that experience that we've been seeing. So there's an additional $20,000 that we feel would be appropriate to carry in 2026 under that line item. On the capital side, this amount is a small dollar. It's $1,200. That is simply the difference between what we allocated in the capital levy to our priorities in 2026. What I'd like to highlight here is if council was to make any proposed recommendations to the budget in the way that it is being proposed currently, my recommendation from a financial perspective would be to maintain the capital levy at the $1.2 million, and any projects that you feel should not be conducted in 2026 would be transferred into the capital reserve. So if we instead were to look at reducing the impact on the operating levy, we will not be keeping up with our needs on the capital side, and we are taking year-over-year costs and reducing those by the capital levy, which is intended for one-time purchases that we can reprioritize elsewhere. So really, if you start to dip into those funds, it is extremely difficult to get it back. The operating cost is not going to go away, nor is the capital cost. So maintaining that capital levy, I really do feel is the way that we're going to see some progress in our backlog of capital needs. When council is presented with the updated asset management plan, which we will have to council in Q1, I expect that $1.2 million is grossly understated. So any reduction in that levy will be taking a step backward rather than forward in our asset management planning and our long-term financial plan. So this is a placeholder for that difference. Ideally, we're growing the capital levy rather than shrinking it.
Yep, go ahead, Ange.
Thank you, through you, your worship. Ellen, just to clarify for me, so any backward momentum on asset management has a direct impact on the funding that we can apply for with the province, correct? We have to maintain a certain asset management timeline or plan.
Through your worship, we have to maintain and have a current asset management plan. How we fund that plan is part of the plan, and there's a funding strategy portion of that, which does outline how we plan to address that. This is part of our solution to that finance strategy. But in terms of the grant applications, usually the requirement is simply that you have the plan and that the project that you're applying for is identified as a need within that plan.
So the province doesn't work strictly on those who help themselves are more likely to be helped by the province. So it's not like you have to match funding or have some money in the reserve. That's what I was getting at. Like, we want to build that reserve for our own purposes, but it also shows intent when we go looking for funding.
Yeah, it depends on the applications that you're looking at. There are some formulas. I just can't recall off the top of my head if it was OCIF or gas tax, but one of them used to have basically a clause within that was like, you couldn't, if we give you more money, you can't take away the money that you would otherwise be contributing. So there are some pieces of that built into formulas in terms of allocation amounts.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ange. Go ahead, Alan.
Any questions before I move on and turn it over to the CAO for executive services? The big middle one.
So thank you for council's awareness. I'll go through executive services, both as a CIO and the head of the Department of Executive Services. I'll go through and cover CAO's office, some of the council line items, as well as communications. And for the other areas of the department, I will ask the individual leader to join me to go through theirs. So as council will be aware, as a general overview, executive services includes the CAO, council-related support, legislative services, which includes bylaw, human resources, communications, as well as all the leaders of all the other departments as part of the senior leadership team also report into me. So those are the areas of oversight that executive services covers. So you will see that there will have been a slight decrease in the overall budget for executive services. Last year, we booked some of the cost related to the reorganization in executive services, which would have led to a slightly elevated budget figure. Those obligations have been met, and we're no longer incurring those costs. So we've been able to absorb some of the cost increases with contractual and otherwise, and we're realizing a net decrease in the overall budget for 2026. So for the CAO's office, I would be responsible for senior leadership, accountability for staffing, finances, policy, strategy, and relationship building efforts. I am located at 99 Advance. In terms of divisional highlights, I won't go through all of these, but some of the things this year that were of note in the negotiations with the Chamber of Commerce, we were able to realize a farmer's market, which I think started off with about 5 stalls, ended up with about 20, and it's looking good for next year. We revamped advisory committee bylaw process and mandate letters, and I think we've realized some significant gains there. And we also had a lot of processes that we did with senior leadership team and the corporate leadership team to break down some silos and have us more move, more in unison. So general financial costs. And as I mentioned, there will have been a net decrease in the general budget. So I had a couple of asks as we went through the budget process. I didn't get any of my asks. I was voted off the island, but that's okay. I'm going to talk to you about what that looks like and why they were on the list. I still think these are needs that we have. They are just not needs that are mission critical right now, based on the rating system. So one of the things that I wanted to bring forward, and I still think that we need a policy bylaw sort of chatbot tool. We've done a lot of work in creating and filling policy deficits and bylaw deficits. Over time, I think it would be easier for both the public and members of staff to be able to go to one place and ask the question, can I or can't I, rather than try to get them to remember and understand all of the different policies and bylaws we're putting in place. It's a lot to ask somebody to do, but to ask them to remember, look, before we do something, go and check and ask the question. It would scan through all of our policies and bylaws. Then you can go and check the specific clause it highlights. This is a tool I think we will see in future years that I think that we require, but it's not something that rises above the level this year because it's a nice to have improvement, but not necessarily a mission critical improvement. And plus everybody else told me no. The other item that I believe that we need, and you're going to see something similar to this as we go through other parts of the budget, but you know, one of the things, we've got a lot of cultural and facility major projects, including in this budget, which you'll see recommendations, not on the levy, but for remediation of the soccer field at the arena, ongoing work that we're doing at Town Hall, some of the work we did with community groups around the Via Rail Station. All of those are handled by the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, who also oversees a lot of staff. That same director is responsible for capital planning of all the facilities that he's working on, troubleshooting, because he's got working lead hands, but many of them are either busy with the day-to-day, hands on the tools, fixing things, unable to leave the facility that they're at because they're the ticket holder for things such as ammonia plants. Ideally, this was, I believe, something that is required to continue to meet the increasing demand we have from members of the community for partnerships, but also to be able to expand recreation and cultural partnerships without going the route of FTE. So think partnering with Boys and Girls Club, think partnering with YMCA, that sort of thing. I know there's somebody that's already on the docket looking to partner with us on facility development coming forward in February. These are the things that the director would be responsible for. We have found a way to achieve some of those goals using existing resources with more minimal and modest increases. But this is something I think that is needed, but in line with the mayor's budget directive. This would represent an FTE, so it is immediately off the list. For council and committees, which would include advisory committees, Arts Advisory Committee, Market Square Committee, Municipal Heritage Committee. We did ask as part of the process for them to make budget requests if things that they needed that we would bring to council for consideration. We are going to list what some of those requests, all of those requests were, including from the Arts Advisory Committee, looking for some extra money for, you know, Music by the River, Arts Awards, Culture Days, the Municipal Heritage Committee, and the Waste Diversion Committee. Staff hasn't recommended that we fund this particular year, only because we tried to be as frugal as possible. Some of the items may not fall within the mandates of the individual advisory committees. But, you know, we did, you know, commit to bringing these forward. It is within council's purview if you wanted to revisit them. Yeah. Fair enough. So as the treasurer's pointed out, it's just the increase that we'd be looking for the Art Advisory Committee be an extra $1,000. You know, for waste diversion be $3,000. Those are the things that we did not recommend, but the existing budgets in 25 would remain. And that would be the same for the Market Square Advisory Committee and the Recreation Advisory Committee, who actually themselves didn't have requests. So 2026, the Community Benefits Fund, 20% to Community Benefit Reserve, 15% to Community Initiatives Fund, 65% to be administered by the town. You will see, and I would ask you to keep an eye on the 65% because you'll find that as a non-taxation revenue source that we are looking to apply against other projects. And that would be one of the sources that we identified. There's the general financial overview for council. With that, I will ask the Director of Legislative Services to go through her budget.
Thank you, Mr. Grant, and we'll just wait till Jessica's at the front there.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. So for So for legislative services, we are clerks, bylaw, and crossing guards. We did increase this year in the 2025 budget, so we now have 2 full-time bylaw officers. Our main highlight for 2025 really is with that increase in bylaw staffing. We did a lot of work in standardizing how we do enforcement. We have a very significant jump in E11 tickets. Some of that is the more you prove that using the system gets you a response, the more residents will use the system. So I don't want to necessarily say that we did 3 times more work, but we did have more than 3 times the number of cases resolved during the year, as well as doing a lot of bylaw and policy updates with the input from other departments. Is this not working? Oh. Oh, now I went too far. Sorry. Anyway, the main change you will see year over year, it does look like a significant change, but that is almost entirely related to the election costs. We set aside some money every year for the election, and then in the election year, we take those costs out. There's also some minor changes that you will see through the next enhancement slide. Okay. So we are, as previously reported to council in the fall, we are planning to start budgeting for our encampment response. Our budget on this has been 0 this year, but we spent a lot of money. So for 2026, this is based on what we spent in 2025. The additional money is the legal costs associated with this, whether that is legal opinions or legal actions needed to be taken, as well as some contracted cleanup work when our own internal resources are not sufficient. We're also planning to move some of the bylaw staffing costs out of bylaw enforcement into encampments. That's a net 0 change on the levy. It's just a change in how it's being reported, and that's based on actual hours spent this year. We are already doing this work. We believe we have an obligation to keep doing this work, but this is included in the budget. Any questions on this one?
Is there any questions with respect to what Jess has provided so far? Yep, go ahead, Ange.
Thank you, through your worship. I know it's been busy with budgets and everything, and I, of course, wasn't on council during the last election, but when do you start doing a lot of the front end, like a lot of the work for a general election, Jessica? Like, I know some of it, and this is a leading question, you know where I'm going with this. I know some of it has already been started due to the by-election. So
Yeah, so
if you weren't doing it then, when would you be starting it?
So through your worship, election planning starts well in advance of the election. Voters list, with or without this by-election, voters list review work would have been done through 2025 anyway. With the by-election, we're somewhat limited. We're focusing exclusively on Ward 3 right now, and then we'll have to catch up on the rest of the wards once we're through the by-election. But we start a lot of our planning already. And to get to where your question is going, while we will have spent approximately $30,000 by the end of January on this by-election, half of that is for costs we were going to incur this year anyway for the general election. We just did it earlier in the year, and that's why we sought that pre-approval from council last fall, knowing that some of those costs, we weren't sure if the bills were going to come in December or in January, and we wanted to make sure we had the approval to do it so that we could hold this by-election.
And I know you and I had some conversations during 2022 about the voters list and how it definitely was not up to snuff. And I know you have encountered some issues that you've had to work through on Ward 3. So that just better prepares us then for making sure everything is done well in advance of October.
Yeah, so through your worship, we will not have the quality of voters list we wanted for this by-election, but we know now what the problems are and how to target improvements for the fall.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Hicks. And just to follow up with Ange, just so I got it straight in my mind, we're going to spend $28,000 to $30,000 on this by-election. However, half of that, $14,000 to $15,000, was money that was going to be spent anyways for the 2026 general election. Am I correct with that?
Through your worship, that's correct. The sole exclusive costs for this by-election, I won't know for sure until the end of the month. I will bring a report once I have all invoices in, but it will be about $14,000 to $15,000 for the true cost of the by-election on its own.
Yep. No, okay, just so I got it straight. My mind, I appreciate that, Jess. So if there's nothing else, you can move on.
Through your worship, this is sort of what we just talked about. Part of that is the $8,400. We did already spend that getting those iPads so that we can use them for our voter assistance stations starting on Friday this week. One item that we identified through the budget process as a potential enhancement, but is not recommended for this year, was a pilot of ending our contracted service for supplemental enforcement and bringing that in-house through seasonal summer employees. In discussions with the mayor through the draft budget process, it was identified that this proposal wasn't as fleshed out as it could be. There were a lot of outstanding questions, and so with that in mind, we are not including that in this budget, and we will continue to do more research into that to see if that is a viable option that would fit this municipality well, but it's not something we're looking to do in 2026. Through your worship, this one is repeated information from earlier in 2025. With the expansion of our department, there is money sitting in our development charges reserve for expanding the fleet. So we would look to utilize those development charge monies that have been collected to have 2 bylaw vehicles. We did some begging and borrowing through 2025. Which gave us limited capacity to have officers out in 2 different directions of the municipality. We do have a large geographic area to cover, so we believe this would be helpful.
Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calvert.
Thank you, through your worship. So we are still going to keep the contracted service for 2026, is that correct?
Through your worship, yes, that's correct. We would be status quo for 2026.
Okay, thank you. And you want to put another vehicle in there for bylaw, so each one of them have their own trucks to drive. Because every time you see them now, they're always in the same vehicle. Is that correct?
Through your worship, yes, that would be the intent. They might still go in the same vehicle in the summer months when they are attending Springside Park to go to encampments, but otherwise it would be separate vehicles going separate directions.
Okay, so the vehicle they had, obviously, we're not going to be able to use it next year, so.
Through your worship, we sold it in October. It did
you.
spend a lot of time up at the hill being worked on.
All righty, thank you.
Go ahead, Ange.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to backtrack just a bit, and this question is directed to Mr. Grant. And it's regarding the AI chatbot tool for the use of staff. And I know Kylie's not here, but is it possible that this tool could also be utilized on the official town website as a search tool? Because you may be looking for the same information as staff. You want to know about a policy, this sort of thing. Could it be utilized? And I'm just curious, it's just a curious question, but if it could, $30,000 isn't that bad. But
So through you, Mr. Mayor, short answer is yes. So the intent for this, in terms of a project, you know, how we would roll the project out is I would use people who work here as guinea pigs. We would figure out, okay, how often does it get updated? What does that look like? So it's 15 in capital and 15 in annual operating to keep a chatbot going. And then once we were satisfied that the system to keep it updated, because we're updating policies and bylaws a lot, when we were satisfied that that worked, we would roll that out to the website, make it available to the people at the front counter and customer service. I would suggest it would turn, let's call it a 30-minute search into 2 minutes. Like that's the intent. And in terms of fairness for staff, rather than try to remember all of the different things, I would just ask them to remember, if you're not sure, check, can I? And that's a lot easier to remember. So that's the intent of that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Hicks. Go ahead, Jess.
Just through your worship, if there's no more questions for me, I'm going to turn my seat over to Holly.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Jessica. And we'll just wait for Holly to come to the front.
Through your worship, hello council. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us about our HR budget here tonight. Oh, this is my first time with the remote, so bear with me. So our division is 2.5 people. So it's myself, one full-time emergency management compliance officer, as well as a 50% employee who we share with finance, who does HR and our payroll. I won't get into the specifics about the overview of our department, but we provide general HR services throughout the entirety of the organization. I will take a second just to highlight some of our achievements this year, because I feel like we did a lot of really good work in 2025, but I won't read it word for word, but we successfully negotiated a contract with one of our new unions. We implemented 2 brand new tech services. One is an HRIS software, and one is a new digital time card service, both which is going to add a lot of really positive benefits to our organization as a whole. And we had an emergency later in 2025 where we sheltered 40 seniors, which was a huge success and something that our group's very proud of, and with all of the organization. And we hired over 40 people in 2025 in a variety of different roles, all who brought really, really great experience to our organization. And we're very thankful to have them a part of our team in 2025. Not a lot of huge changes in terms of our operating budget. Oh, I got it. I'll figure it out eventually. So generally things are staying the same. You will see, as per usual, our transfer to reserves, which is for our accessibility fund. We're required to put that amount of money away each budget season in order to plan for accessibility. That is something that we're looking at using in the future to help better our spaces in terms of making them more accessible for our community. Thank you, Shannon, for making this possible for me, and I apologize for the theatrics that you're receiving with this remote choreography tonight. So we have 2 operating enhancement requests coming from our department, both small dollar values that are going to make a large impact on our employees. First is we're requesting the emergency management CEMC operational budget. So our emergency management department used to have a budget line through the fire department, but since it's moved into HR, that budget has been moved into other areas. We're looking to have that reestablished, and particularly in the 2026 budget year, we're looking to use that money to make critical incident bags. So if for any reason an employee or someone in our community requires a critical incident that happens, we'll have the bags ready to go at our management level to start the investigation and do things properly from the outset. This is something we have had in the past, but they've been used over time. They've been lost in transactions, moved on with retirement. So we're just looking to refresh that to make sure we're meeting our minimum requirements in terms of the health and safety for critical incidents. That's a $2,000 value. And second is a request for our lone worker monitoring program. This is an app offered through our town cell phones that allows any of our employees who are working alone out in the field to just have that extra sense of security. So It can provide real-time check-ins, do emergency alerts, and does location tracking for our employees who are out working alone. We do have a number of employees that this does apply to. However, this initial ask for the $2,500 is for 10 staff members as a pilot program to see if this will work for our staff. It's an increase in our health and safety generally overall, and I think it's a positive step in the right direction in terms of that sense of security for our staff who are out in the field working on their own. Any questions?
Go ahead, Mike.
The lone worker, I think is a super idea. Just fantastic, because a lot of times if you're a farmer and you're in a different field, if something ever happened, how would you ever get a 911 when they phone 911 and you're by yourself, and try to direct Kingston to say, hey, I'm across from this field or this field. So this lone worker, especially with public utilities or the going down for the water plant and stuff like this, you know what I mean? I think it's a fantastic idea. But just when it comes to HR, when it comes to about full-time, part-time, and students and everything else, in the 2025, there was an organizational change, all right, the Matthew and you guys put together. Where did he go? There he is. All right. And I looked there. So all I'm saying is that there was an organizational change in some of the new hires. So when you see through here saying, well, we hired 6 more full-time, no, our organization, could you explain that to the general public? Just so, because there's always what we say here and what ends up out there somehow gets construed 15 ways to Sunday. So if you could kind of review that, just what our increase was or what our decrease was or whatever, and overview that again.
Yeah,
Please.
you asked the question I was going to ask, so thank you, Mike.
All right, thanks.
If you come in partway through that conversation with Holly and she says, we hired 41 people, people are going to fall out of their chair, right? So I will get out of the way and I'll let you folks explain that.
So sure. So through you, Mr. Mayor. So what I would say is, the head counts from the time I arrived until today, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, is the same. We reorganized the organization. We changed where some of the people were sitting. We changed some positions from a senior executive level to middle management or in and around there to provide more capacity. So when we talk about those numbers, we're talking about retirements, replacements, those sorts of things. And just to point out for council, we brought forward a complement control policy earlier, I believe in 25. And what that means is you should never be surprised that a head count has gone up in the organization, because we are not allowed to do that without your permission. So the head count is exactly the same. It's just when we hire different people, it's replacements, retirements, that sort of thing, and the things that keep HR busy.
Thanks, Mike. Is there anything else? Seeing none, who's up after Holly?
So thank you. I'm just going to take us through communications. So for our communications division, if you will, we have one full-time employee. A difference that you will have noted is that employee went from elsewhere in the organization and now reports directly to me and sits outside my office. So they do all internal and external communications, advertising, marketing, and the like. And we're able to increase some capacity there by removing non-communications related duties. That's what I would, the one thing I would say is, while our communications division is small, it is mighty. You know, there a number of things, including a corporate communication strategy. We've made some pretty decent improvements in the search function of the corporate website by finding a technical solution to increase the ability for the community to search. You know, one thing we're working on this year for next, which is kind of exciting, is an intranet. So all the things that employees are going to require is all in one place, including policies, benefits information, onboarding, training, all that stuff in one location. And we're able to do that with in-house resources. Now that's going to be a 26 thing, but it's a spoiler alert. The difference you're going to see in the budget is a slight increase in some of the costs, but we did pull out of the advertising budget approximately $8,200. That was mostly to try to find savings to offset some of the increases in other areas of the budget. So we were able to bring in the budget where we did. We realized some additional revenues in different parts of the department, but Ellen, in her wisdom, came knocking and said, I need you to give it the office. So we gave some money from the advertising budget to try to offset some increases in other areas, and that's why that number is lower.
I'm sorry for laughing. I just like that analogy. Ellen came knocking at the office.
I'm still confident that we'll be able to continue to meet our communications obligations. We have a decent strategy in place. We've realized some significant gains. We're going to be rolling out newsletters that people can subscribe to in 2026. We're doing more targeted communications. We've realized, I'm going to say roughly a 300 to 400% increase in engagement with our engagement initiatives by doing the targeting and strategic advertising that we're doing. So, you know, by way of example, last year's budget survey was 85 people that submitted. This year was over 300. And so we're being more targeted with the way that we're investing. But I'm happy to answer any questions on communications and or executive services as a whole.
Is there any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Grant. And finance and IT, are you going to do that one, Alan?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just while we're getting the presentation up here, I'm going to go through financial and IT services. Dave Nicholson, the department head for IT services, unfortunately is unavailable tonight, but sends his regrets. So I will speak to the IT services portion of this budget. So in 2025, financial services did see a structural change where we now have IT services reporting into our department as well, which was a welcomed adjustment to the overall structure. Over the two departments, we have 9 full-time staff and 2 students across both divisions. Is that my sound? So overview of our financial overview for financial and IT services. I'll get into detail. It's easier to break these apart, but some of our contractual commitments, and then an overall increase in the budget of $55,000. I'm going to skip ahead to the divisional highlights of financial services from a general overview. We are busy in a very active department, but our stuff's a little dry, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the financial things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Some divisional highlights for us, though. We, of course, spent a lot of time working through the 2023 audit and the completion of our audited financial statements, which, of course, 2023s are now completed, and we are seeing great progress in our 2024 statements with expected presentation to council at either the second meeting in January or the first meeting in February. I will say that that audit has gone very different than 2023. And we are pleased with the progress that we've made there. We did have a change in our department in 2025 where we also did add an additional support in a procurement and grants coordinator. And we've made great progress in that area in our department with the procurement bylaw being redone in 2025, effective January 1, 2026. So we're looking forward to having that new bylaw and the support of that department or that individual in our department and across the organization to fine tune and focus on our procurement activities, and then further looking towards how we can better utilize our opportunities for grants and manage the existing grants that we do have. Overall, financial impact on the financial services is limited, but there are some offsets. We have reduced our contracted services. We had a reduction in some of the third-party support that was required in 2025 that will not be utilized in 2026. I did have one operational enhancement in 2026 that we did not prioritize to be included at this point in time for a couple of reasons. This is related to budgeting software. I very much think that we are at a point as an organization where our ability to conduct the budget and the analysis that goes with that through Excel is not the most efficient way to continue our operations. I think that there's a great benefit that can be seen from this, both on our operating and our capital and wages. They are one of the largest drivers of our budget, and having a software to support those calculations and analysis as we look to make changes throughout budget lines would be extremely beneficial. Two things here. My initial cost estimate for that was lower than the actuals came in once we did receive the quotes on that. So it was harder to prioritize that in 2026 based on the other priorities that the organization was seeing. And from a capacity standpoint, within our own department, we have a lot of progress that we have made already and will continue to make. But there would be a lot of time, staff time, that would be required to get this up and running. So I think from an operational standpoint that this is better suited for 2027, but very much a need that I will continue to raise for council's awareness, and you will see this again next year, I fully expect. Any questions on financial services before I move on to IT?
Nope, don't say anything. Go ahead, Alan.
Thank you. I'm not going to speak to the technical things that IT does. This is here for council's awareness. They do a lot of really great work and a substantial amount of support for the organization as a whole. So we're grateful for that team. Some of the divisional highlights, I will touch on those. So we had our capital refresh in 2025 of our existing hardware. None of us can do our jobs without this. So that was a big project for that department in 2025. We expanded the CCTV program, which has been seen with great success at adding additional cameras to that program. Our IT department is quite busy with 2 to 3 staff members addressing over 500 support tickets throughout the year. A lot of work done through mapping and visualization tools and through E11. The overall financial review for IT services, we do see an increase here in contracted services. Most of this is related to existing contracts that we have for our IT services that are seeing annual increases. However, there are some enhancements that I'll go over that are also driving that. The first one being a request for 25 co-pilot licenses. So this is, again, an AI tool that can help empower staff to complete some automated processes such as document drafting, research, workflow management, which will significantly free up staff time. AI is a relatively new technology, but it is one that is not going to go away, and one that we feel that there is great benefit for us to embrace and be, I don't want to say early adopter, but somewhat of an early adopter, because this is here and it's here to stay. And if we do not learn how to manage it and to use it properly, I think we can get left behind. So this is a missed opportunity if we don't look at this. And we think it would be beneficial to our staff to be able to have these productivity tools available to them in their work plans.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Ange.
Thank you, Your Worship. And you may not be able to answer this, so if you can't, that's fine. But is Copilot, I have access to it, but I've never used it. Does it follow sort of the same principle as Power BI through Microsoft? Oh, okay. Mr. Grant.
I was briefed a little bit, so I can speak a little bit to this, but
I'll turn it over to Ellen just to add if there's anything, but so I would suggest that Copilot can be characterized as a safer chat GPT. Based on the same technology, the difference being chat GPT would use the information you would input to help the model keep learning. So it might spit some of your information out in Japan or somewhere else where this doesn't. It also allows you to quickly search any database within the entire organization almost instantly.
Just the organization. It does not go outside. So that was,
Well, so you can go outside within the web, and it will search a lot of stuff for you, but it won't give your information into the web.
okay.
Or you can hit a different mode where you can search through your drive or common drives, emails, that sort of stuff. So instead of spending 2 hours to look for something, you'll spend 36 seconds. I did that this morning.
So this leads me to, okay, my question. In your presentation, you had the AI chat bot. So for just strictly internal purposes, will the Copilot allow a similar functionality for searching for information within our own organization?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, somewhat. It would require more sort of searching. An AI chatbot itself is only specifically trained on policies and bylaws, so that's the only thing it will give you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ange. Is there anything else? If not, you can move on, Alan.
The second operational enhancement that we have on IT is Microsoft licensing for our part-time staff. So historically, we do provide those to full-time staff. We are looking to expand that to include our part-time as well, which would be our crossing guards and our landfill attendants. Again, we're looking for parity across the organization. And as we have rolled out some of our new processes for time management. So the HRIS module that Holly had mentioned, which is our inputting your time, and for citation, which is also an HR portal, but we kick out training that way. So if we have a change in a policy, if we have any training that's required across the organization, health and safety, things like that. It goes through citation, it comes through, and you need an email attached to that. Rather than asking those individuals to use personal emails to access that information, we feel that if we are asking staff to do that, that we provide a staff provided email. And then also they're getting any of the correspondence that goes out to all staff will be including those part-time individuals. The third enhancement we're requesting support on is through the county GIS. So this is not a new service, but an amendment to our existing agreement. So the county and Esri, the service provider of that product, has evaluated how the licensings are distributed. We are using more than we had originally did, and how more than we have said we were going to. So because of that, there's an additional charge for those licenses, and they vary from like I'm going to get the terminology incorrect here, but like a viewer license versus a creator license. I actually think I got that right. So we have done a full review of those licenses and pared back where we can. This number was quite a bit higher initially. So we have limited to only those licenses that we feel are necessary for the operations of the organization. This is a very valuable tool. Lots of our staff utilize it and access the GIS. So we do feel that we should be paying our portion of those licenses that we are using. There is another portion of that for FME, which is a feature manipulation engine, which basically provides a tool to be able to query our databases. So that's a $3,500 ask for that, which is not the actual tool itself, but it's training on that tool for our staff. So the county pays for FME already, and we have access to it through that partnership. But the additional ask was for training for us to be able to use that part of the tool. Any questions?
Nope, go ahead.
We did have one additional enhancement that it was not included, but we had proposed initially. This came up in budget of 2025 when we're doing the capital replacements of our PCs. And we had recommended that we put oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Oh, no, I didn't. I just have my screen wrong. The PC replacement. So instead of having the capital replacement all in one budget year, we phase that over the life of the devices, and we're putting aside a small amount each year. Again, good financial planning. I wish we could do it with all of our assets. This was a small start, but again, given the priorities that we are facing, this did not make the top of the list. I apologize. I may have gone over the other one, so I'm going to go back one on your slides. The additional capital enhancement request here was for an expansion to the CCTV camera program for $60,000. Again, we still believe that this would be a good addition to that overall program. However, we are seeing good results from what we have right now. There are some gaps in service and gaps in areas, and this would help close that a little bit, but we have pretty good coverage overall. So again, given other priorities and lack of funding that we had previously got that we didn't receive, we thought that this one could wait.
Yep, go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, through you, your worship. Do we know how many cameras the 60,000 would have covered? I should know that because I think it was 60,000 for the last batch, but I can't remember.
I'll look it up in a minute. Just give me a moment and I'll try to get that information.
Thanks, thanks, Ange. Yeah, I'm sure Ellen will get that information for you.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Through your worship, just because we did 60,000 last year, so 16 cameras.
I do think it would depend on whether you did the mobile units or the stationary units, because the mobile units are more expensive, but some combination around that number.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Not that I totally agree. We're not spending the $60,000, but have you ever thought of, in high sensitive areas or high crime areas and some of the crimes that have happened just recently, do you ever try any of those trail cams that go right to a phone? Because that's what we use, and it's, do we have those? Are we using those?
I think that's the purpose of the mobile ones that we have. And so that those mobile ones, we have the ability to move certain areas and able to try and capture some high sensitive areas. So
Are they that expensive, those trail cams? Yeah, okay.
yeah, the quality of the mobile ones is very, very good. And I shouldn't comment on it because I don't know how much work it is to move them, but that's the purpose of the high-end quality mobile cameras that we bought. And I can't remember the exact number. Maybe Nathan's got it, but I know that in the last bunch, we got 4 of them, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Through your
That-
worship, yeah, I don't know off the top of my head on that one.
We can find out, but yeah, that's the purpose of what those mobile ones are for, Mike.
The only reason why I was saying that is because we have 4 on the farm and they go all night and it goes right to your phone, and even at nighttime, the visual, and for, I think it was at $15, whatever the license fee or whatever that they do, and you can see exactly what's going on, what isn't going on, or what if there's a problem in a certain area. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Thank you, Your Worship. That concludes what I have to add on financial and IT services, but I can take any additional questions before we move on to fire.
Is there any questions? Go ahead, Deputy McCover.
Yeah, just to get back with Michael or Councillor Shank there. I know at one point we did have 4 of the Spy Point ones that you're referring to, which are extremely portable. And we did buy some of the CCTV portable ones, which are way beyond what the Spy Point are. But yes, we do have multiple mobile ones around, and they are a really worthwhile investment. So.
Thanks. Is there anything else? If not, I think we'll take a 10-minute break before we get into fire, if there's nothing else. Perfect. We'll see you back in about 10 minutes, folks. Thanks. Welcome back, folks. And moving on through the agenda, Fire Department. I see the chief and the deputy chief here. So welcome, gentlemen. And who's going to start? You, chief?
Thank you, worship members of council. It's an honor to be here tonight before you to present the 2026 operating and capital budget. Our fire department is established to ensure that we have a composite model, which means we have volunteer and full-time members. And we organize that model to meet the needs and circumstances of the community. We organize around fire prevention, firefighting, fire suppression, which is the same, and fire safety education. We also are required this year, if I could take a brief moment to talk about the risk created by the presence of unsafe levels of carbon monoxide. There's been a change in the regulation as of January 1st. So if you have solid, liquid, or gas burning appliances or an appliance, or you have an attached garage and you don't have any appliances, you require a CO detector on every level of your home. That's a new requirement. It used to be just outside of your sleeping areas. So that's one of the mandated services that the fire department provides. So it's not nice to take the opportunity tonight to bring that awareness to our community. We provide technical rescues and extrication from motor vehicle accidents. We do responses to hazardous materials at the operations level. And we're improving our water and ice rescue skills annually to meet the requirements of July 2028 for certification of training. We provide communications with respect to anything, and we partner with SLT and our communications officer the CAO's office to ensure that the social media and all our media outlets are provided with key information like the ones I just mentioned tonight about carbon monoxide and other important information. We train persons involved in any of those levels of services that I just described, and we do that in accordance with council service standard that was set by council last year. We organize our services around administration, fire prevention, fire safety education, training division, and a fire suppression firefighting crew, as I said, full-time and volunteer firefighters. We have one chief, one deputy chief, 8 full-time firefighters, 2 of which fulfill the role of training officer and firefighter and fire prevention officer and firefighter. And we organize that with 55 paid on-call volunteer firefighters. We had a 2026 operating budget we're proposing of $2,537,050 and a 2026 capital budget of $561,876. Our 3 stations are located at 99 Advanced Drive, not far from here, and 2556 South Shore Road for the Station 3 in Dorland, and 3264 County Road 41 for Roblin Fire Station. Some of the highlights we've accomplished in 2025, we updated our tiered response agreement, and it's been a positive impact. As the calls are triaged differently by the ambulance dispatch, we are now going to less and less low acuity calls and more important life safety calls and critical calls when people are suffering a medical emergency. We recruited 6 new firefighters in 2025 to maintain the overall staffing of our paid on call cohort. And we're recruiting this year, again, another 8 firefighters, I guess it is, 8 total, to again, fill replacement and retirements. We achieved a water shuttle accreditation, achieving a commercial occupancy flow rate, which is surpassing our flow rates that we previously had. We achieved that in the urban area, and we met the overall requirements for residential fire flows in urban and rural services. So it was a lot of work and a great accomplishment from the team here at Greater Napanee Fire. We're successful in receiving a new grant funding for improved training in line of duty cancer prevention and mental health awareness. I believe the cancer prevention was just north of $51,000, and the mental health awareness was around 18 to 20. 24,000. Thank you. As a result of the fatal fire where Walter Lasher passed away, sadly, in 2024, we targeted enforcement in our multi-unit dwelling, in our residential dwellings. And as a result of that targeted enforcement, we laid 7 Part 3 provincial offense charges. And we continue to have a specific focus on multi-unit residential dwellings because we see that as a larger risk in terms of the occupancy and the where the most risk is in our community risk assessment is residential fires. So we're focusing on that, and we're making a big impact. And I think the word's getting around, and we'll continue to do that. That we're looking at those occupancy types. We ordered a new ladder truck to replace the end-of-life asset. This current ladder truck we have. I can report that staff are attending next week to do the final inspection on the new truck that was ordered. And we're working on making sure the current asset is ready for transfer of sale. The team at Greater Napanee Fire and my colleagues at SLT negotiated the first unionized agreement with the paid-on-call firefighters, and that's an agreement that goes from 2025 to the end of 2028. Overall, we had a good year in 2025 for revenues and often surpassing some of the revenue line items that we had in the budget. So we're establishing a $73,000 revenue line item for this year's proposed budget. And that's been as a result of the good work that the team's been doing on claiming our insurance claims that were above and beyond normal expenses for fire departments. And also an elevated eye on our Ministry of Transportation Ontario claims as a result of car accidents on the provincial highways. Our staff costs in 2025 were $1,852,734. That's increased to $2,058,250. That's a $205,000 increase, a little more than that, $205,516. And that's basically an impact of the unionized agreement between the full-time and the volunteer firefighters. Our material and supplies budget has gone up, as with everything, cost of everything these days. We've recognized a $13,150 increase. And our contracted services include our dispatch agreements and insurance provisions that are corporate requirements, and that's gone up $20,000 almost at $19,391. We have a total year-over-year change of $234,678, which represents a levy impact of 1.545%. This year, we're proposing an operating enhancement. You can talk to that.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll speak to this. So that you'll see two operating enhancements that speak to overtime. This is a budgeting change, if you will. So we have seen trends over the last number of years as it relates to overtime that was not budgeted. This is not a change in the way that we're doing service or a change in the way that we are staffing in this department or in Parks, Rec, and Culture, which is the other department you'll see this in. This is what I believe to be an oversight in budgeting, where overtime was not being adequately budgeted for. So I have recognized those as enhancements to better align with the actuals that we are seeing. The overtime in both of these departments is, in our opinion, not related or not reducible based on hiring additional staff, say, to limit the amount of overtime. In both of these departments, we see overtime costs during statutory holidays. These facilities and services are open more times than the rest of the organization, so we see a cost then, and during coverage of leave. So when people are on vacation or sick and there's additional callbacks required, those are the primary drivers of the overtime requirements in those two departments. So this is a budgeting cleanup rather than a change in service.
Another operating enhancement for the fire department is legal and contractual obligations, $117,000. That's to support ongoing legal and contractual obligations that we have with our staff and some of our partners in the service, and we will need to maintain that. It will not eliminate the need for that. Communications equipment, so it's the life cycling of radios and pagers. Every year, there's a few portables that are beyond their useful life, or they're damaged beyond repair. And pagers get issued after they don't work, and there's new pagers issued to people. So it ensures that there's continuity of communications when the cellular network fails. And that's really why we haven't migrated to cell phones only. It's because they're the one thing in an emergency that doesn't get overwhelmed by the traffic on the cellular networks. It's a life safety for firefighters who are required to communicate with each other and with command during an incident. Moving to capital enhancements for the fire department, we're looking to replace some personal protective equipment, the value of $120,000. This includes 10 new sets and 15 replacement sets of structural firefighting gear. That's at a cost of $4,700, which includes some of the gloves and boots and equipment also. It consolidates expensive gear acquisition to ensure personal protective gear is life cycled when required to maintain operational readiness. So firefighters may be injured or suffer chronic illnesses based on not having the gear. So failure to replace those pose health and safety risks to our firefighters. SCBA face pieces, a lot like the pagers and the radios. Every year there's face pieces damaged, and new pieces are required for new people. And we do recycle the pieces that aren't damaged or in disrepair. We do use them again for others, but this just maintains an adequate level for firefighters when they need it. Second set of bunker gear was a negotiated piece that fell out of the contractual negotiations with the volunteer firefighters. And we will issue the gear as it's needed to the firefighters to over time. And I think we're looking at a 3-year period. And we're trying to identify the gear needs based on those that attend to the fire scenes the most. So everyone will get them, but the ones that seem to be here all the time will get their gear replaced first. And we recognize that they're there for us, all the volunteer firefighters, but the ones that come all the time, it's much appreciated. And it's a small thing we can do for them. Ladder 811 replacement, it's a value annually of $265,376 over 10 years. And it starts to support the planned corporate replacement of assets or fleet assets in a more incremental and practical manner based on industry best practices. And I think we're looking at 15 years of life cycle for the aerial and frontline service, and 10 years or 5 years in reserve. Actually, most places look at 10 years in frontline and 5 years in reserve, but the use on the aerial is such that we can look at that annually. And we've had good luck with the last aerial we've had. We have better luck when we have a service maintenance interval that is planned and timely, and will ensure that the new corporate systems put in place to maintain our fleet and assets and give us the alerts to do those equipment upgrades or checks are in place. And I think that will help extend the life of the apparatus as well. There was an oil tank that was red tagged in Dorland, and we looked at the value of replacing the old oil burner and the oil tank at Dorland. And unfortunately, we were planning that the oil would last until February, but the start of the cold winter is such that we needed to replace that just Christmas Eve, basically. And so this aspect is already purchased. We have probably 6 or 7 kilometers worth of hose in the department. And this is just to replace the inventory that doesn't pass the annual hose testing, or that is worn out through mechanical or chemical wear and tear. That's covering that and making sure that there's an inventory of spare hose at a fire station when they need it. Airbags, the current airbags that we have are such that you could they're designed to lift heavier objects like a tractor trailer or a vehicle that's turned over where we need to move a vehicle to stabilize the scene at an accident. The ones that we currently have in service are well over 20 years old. There's cracking and checking in them, and they won't pass the structural integrity of an airbag now today. So we want to make sure that those are replaced within and meet the standards that we need when we're at those types of accidents. Identify capital requirements or enhancements, but they weren't included in this budget, was the idea to refurb current pump 821, which is the pumper at Roblin Station, refurbish that and make it into a reserve apparatus. Currently, there is no reserve apparatus at the station. If a pumper goes out of service, we don't have a like pumper to put in place. We are using a combination of the tanker and the pickup truck to deliver services when that happens. This was postponed given the replacement of the ladder truck, and quite honestly, there's a capacity issue to get all that done in 1 year. So this was one of the reasons it was deferred. We also would like to replace pump 821. It's aging, and it's another maintenance heavy asset where it tends to be broken down. We have a budgetary figure, of $750,000, and it was postponed again. We have enough to do this year with getting the aerial in service and getting the old one sold off and getting training done on that. So for that, Your Worship, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, sir. Is there any questions for the chief with respect to the presentation or the budget information? Seeing none, thank you, Chief. Appreciate it very much.
Okay.
And I think next is Parks, Recreation, and Culture. So I see Mr. Brown coming to the front. So whenever you're ready, Chris, the floor will be yours.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship, members of council. So jumping right into Parks, Recreation, and Culture overview, we are responsible for the operations and maintenance of parks, trails, and community facilities, community programming, cemeteries administration and maintenance, downtown beautification, and building maintenance. We also oversee the corporate and community events. So we've broken the divisions down into three. First division being Parks, Recreation, and Culture, the second being Facilities, and then the third being Cemeteries on its own. We have 17 full-time employees and 1 permanent part-time employee. 3 employees report to 99 Advance Avenue, and the remaining employees report to the Best in Bash Arena. Moving on to the general financial overview, you can see there that there's a $126,000 increase over last year. The majority of that is related to staff costs. It's been discussed this evening quite a bit, but we were able to budget many more revenues than last year, so it did help offset that. I'm happy to take any questions on the general overview of the finances. Seeing none. So the first division, Parks, Recreation, and Culture. Again, this is recreation and program administration, community programs, corporate and community events, downtown beautification, operations and maintenance of parks, trails, sports fields, ball diamonds, playgrounds, and splash pad, boat launches, municipal properties, and green spaces. Those employees, just for clarification, those 14.5 full-time employees, they are the same employees that were mentioned earlier as the 17 in our department. Just some divisional highlights in 2025 in this division. The creation and approval of the corporate events policy and the community events policy. We were able to approve the Parks, Recreation, and Culture service level standards. We welcomed a couple more partnerships, and those partnerships we will seek to gain more and more of those as the years progress. We were able to get a couple things done here at Town Hall as part of our progress, asbestos abatement in Town Hall, and also the reconstruction of the front steps. We did host the Canadian U17 Boys Fast Pitch Championships at the fairgrounds, which Napanee won gold. And the grant was already mentioned earlier this evening, but to improve accessibility at the Best and Bash Arena. So moving forward, the finances of this division, administration, parks, the ball diamonds, the soccer fields, splash pad, boat launch, this is all lumped into this financial overview. Again, the significant increase here is related to those staff costs. We are not adding new staff, but this has been spoken about also this evening already. Merit increases, cost of living, and the overtime would be a part of that as well. Happy to stop there if anyone has any questions for the financial overview.
I'm not seeing anything, Chris, so go ahead.
Okay, so moving right on to community programs. This one here, and Nathan could help me out if I miss anything, but essentially, we weren't budgeting enough for the skating instructor wage related to our skating programs. And so we undershot that in 2025, and then we're budgeting appropriately in 2026. But looking at the year end of 2025, we actually might be able to reduce that down from $11,500, even a little more. That was just a conservative estimation based on when we filled this out. Did I get that right? Yeah. The rest is pretty self-explanatory.
I'll just step in there quickly. Yeah, so we do allocations across cost centers within a department. Some of it is based off of actual time spent, like our cleaner, for example. Those are specifically allocated to those locations. There are others that we allocate based on estimations of proportions. So the overall budget for wages is really what council hopefully is concerned with, and the allocation, the way that we split it amongst the departments. We do our best to allocate, but they do vary year to year. They're just estimates based on the allocations of those wages.
Okay, public celebrations. So these are our corporate events that the town of Greater Napanee runs. There is no difference from last year, and so council and the community can expect to see the same corporate events that were run in 2025 with no change to the budget. As we look at the downtown core, it also remains basically the same with one addition. We were adding $3,000 to the materials and supplies line just to be able to give us some flexibility to add some more downtown beautification around the holiday season. Each year we're looking at different ways to add to the downtown for the holiday season, and with just a little bit more money, we feel like we can accomplish that. Operating enhancements. So this is really the biggest one. Parks Recreation staffing support. It's a $40,000 value. This is referring to what Mr. Grant was talking about in his manager of facilities that is not recommended. So this is a way for our department to just evaluate the human resources that we do have in our department and shuffle some things around, change some priorities just to gain some resources. And so simply put, right now I have 2 lead hands. I also have a lead hand in the cemetery division that only works in our department for half the year. That lead hand goes over as an operator in the public works for the winter season to help supplement their winter maintenance. So what we'd like to do is bring that employee into our department full-time, so 12 months of the year, to add support in our department. We would elevate one of those lead hands to a supervisor role. So we would have a supervisor and 2 lead hands. That means that there would be a shortfall in the public works department because that staff member is no longer in there for the winter maintenance season. So they would have to hire a seasonal contract worker for sidewalk plow removal. I know there's a lot of bouncing balls there, so if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer that. But essentially, without adding a full-time employee, this is a way to gain additional support that I very much need to be able to focus on my mandate items and the large capital projects that we foresee in 2026.
So Chris, I'm not seeing any questions, so continue on.
Sorry.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor Cower.
Thank you, through your worship. So backing up a couple of slides there, we've got the Community in Blooms was $3,500. What is that? Can you just give me an idea what that was for?
Yes, through your worship to Deputy Mayor Calver. So Community in Blooms is the program of all the volunteer gardeners around the community. And so essentially what that $3,500 is for supplies, mulch, soils, and all the, maybe a few tools here and there, some waste bags. It's basically just supplies. And they also supplement that $3,500 by advertising and doing an expo as well to help offset some of that cost. So can't for the money, we can't do what we do each and every summer without the support of those volunteers with Communities in Bloom. And they are maintaining those gardens. We do assist with all the watering of those gardens that are in our parks, but they are doing the hard work, the weeding, and making everything look beautiful. So.
Okay, and the other one, so we get 26,500 going into the greenery and stuff for downtown. It also says 2 garbage bins, but then the next line was $20,000 for waste bin disposal. Is that? Can you just give me a little more clarity on that?
Yep. So that actually is a typo that I missed. It shouldn't be 2. We are looking to add 6 new garbage cans with that money. We just bought 6 new garbage cans for downtown in 2025. We're looking to add another 6 in 2026. And we are trying to phase out all those old garbage cans that are looking a little bit worn out and long overdue. So that's what the garbage bins is. The waste disposal bin is actually located in the Public Works yard. And that when Public Works goes through downtown and disposes of the downtown garbage cans, they're taking that waste and putting it in the large disposal bin at the Public Works yard. And that is the tipping fee throughout the year for that waste disposal bin.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to clarify because sometimes we get accused of not doing enough for the downtown. Like that's, $66,500 to support the downtown. So yeah, thank you for all the work you and your guys do. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Calver. Is there anything else? If not, then, sorry, go ahead, Alan.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to add, as Chris had mentioned on the operational enhancement for the support for his department, the staffing support and the organizational structural change. There was discussions about the elevating the lead hands. That the cost of that we were able to find through savings throughout the rest of the organization. So we made it a conscious effort to ensure that that didn't hit the tax levy. So that was offset by operational savings found elsewhere in the budget.
Great, thanks, Alan. Go ahead, Councilor Mark.
Through you, Your Worship, just a quick question. Why don't they just take the garbage to South Fred so that we can drop it off? Or would that lose some of the life expectancy of it instead of spending 20 grand on a bin up there? I'm just curious. We have a dump, that's all.
Through Your Worship. So that bin is also used for parks disposal as well. So when our parks department goes around and does the garbage run in all of our parks, we're emptying into the garbage truck and then emptying into that bin as well. And so there's portions of that pay for that bin as well, but also it's the convenience location. We're using a loader, dumping the garbage from downtown into the bucket and then taking it up to the hill. So that might be a better question for tomorrow night when Mr. Cothell or Mr. Dwyer can answer it better than I can, but that is my thinking.
Yep, great. Thanks. Thanks, Bob. Is there anything else? If not, we'll let Chris move on. Yeah, whenever you're ready, Chris.
So similar to the discussion that we had on the fire department and the overtime there, there is a overtime budget that we feel is necessary in Parks, Rec, and Culture based on his actuals that we are seeing, and that's a $30,000 impact for Parks, Recreation, and Culture. Yep.
No, we missed one.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just backing up one slide. This next enhancement is, council would have heard this in a report earlier. When we were doing the service level standards, I had made a recommendation that we extend our seasonal staff by an additional month. So this is what you're seeing here. Each year we hire 2 seasonal staff to work from May to the end of October, just to help offset, especially those shoulder seasons where we're outside and in the arena and there's a lot going on. In hopes that these will assist in April specifically, starting in April instead of May, an additional month for 2 of these seasonals would be $11,000. So this is where you're seeing that recommendation from earlier in the year on the budget.
Yep. Great. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, just briefly, holiday beautification, just adding $3,000 to that line. It's also the same line where we budget like for the garbage cans and for the banners and for the flowers. So we're just beefing that line up a little bit. Moving on to capital budget recommendations. So the first one is a tow behind chipper. So this purchase of a new chipper would serve not only the Parks Department, but also the Cemetery Department as well. It could also be used by other departments if needed. We have additional needs for tree removal, brushing, and dead ash. The town currently owns 1 large chipper, but it's mainly used for roadside removals by our Public Works Department. So oftentimes when we need a chipper, they're also using the chipper. So it doesn't always work out. Because of that, we've had to rent a chipper, a tow behind chipper, many times like over the last few years. So, you know, we felt like buying our own, we'd actually pay for that over a few years. And so that is the recommendation for the tow behind chipper. Happy to answer any questions on that piece of equipment.
Yep. Go ahead, Councilor Hicks.
Just one question. Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Chris, the tow behind chipper, is this tow behind a pickup, tow behind a lawnmower, tow behind a utility vehicle?
Through your worship, yeah. So that would be towing behind either half-ton or three-quarter-ton pickup truck that we already have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calvert.
Thank you, through your worship. So look at another tow behind chipper. How many chipper trucks do we have? I believe we just have the one new one that we just received. So if it's being used with the other chipper, what are you chipping this into?
So many of our jobs that we do, we're actually reutilizing those chips either on site, either in the park, or we're actually just leaving them on the ground. So it depends on where we're taking the tree down, but we're not actually blowing it into, a lot of times, this is a smaller chipper, right? So it's, I think it was a 7-inch diameter capacity. So we're doing like the tree, not the actual box of the chipper where you put it in. But basically, we're not blowing it into the truck. So the truck would stay with Public Works and stay with the roadside chipper. We're using it basically for cleanup. And it's really sped up the time that it takes to complete that work by, you know, hours. So we find it very beneficial. And the risks, obviously, like we'll continue to rent it when we need it. We just feel like it's financially responsible to buy it because we'll pay it off over a few years.
Thank you. So what is the life expectancy? Because like $15,000 for a tow behind chipper, like you say, it's not a big one. I'm just wondering what the life expectancy is of that chipper versus, you know, we're paying over the last couple of years, we paid $3,500 to $5,000 on rental. that we don't have to maintain, we don't have to look after, we rent it when we need it. We don't need it, we're not looking after it. I'm just trying to get my head around that one.
I don't know for sure the exact, it'll depend on the exact model, what the, like the warranty and the life expectancy is. I'd be guessing, so I don't want to say a year that I'd be guessing on, but, yeah, I fully understand where you're coming from there. And, yeah, we can look at continuing to rent or this is, our idea of trying to make sure we have one readily available for when the work is need to be done.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Councillor Hicks.
Through you, your worship. Where are you currently renting it from? Is it local in town, or do you have to go out of town to rent it? So you've lost time and manpower going to pick it up, drop it off, et cetera. That's the first question. Second question, we had a discussion earlier or late last year about used vehicles or used equipment. So will you be looking at that as a potential? Because landscaping companies, some of them come and some of them go just as quick. And would they have equipment for sale?
So first question, yeah, we look local. Somewhere that has it available and ready is obviously the most important thing. So we look local first for sure. And then, you know, elsewhere in the surrounding area if they didn't have anything available. The second, yeah, all options are on the table. We would the $15,000 rough estimate quote is for new. But we could definitely look at used options if that's what council desired.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Is there anything else? No, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so the next capital enhancement is the soccer field. It was really important that we looked at additional funding sources so that this did not impact the tax levy. So if you recall last year, we budgeted $65,000 for the soccer field in hopes that we would get a 70-30 split grant funding. We didn't get that funding, but we still are carrying forward that $65,000 that we budgeted last year. The remaining funding sources would be the Ontario Community Benefit Fund for 2026, $65,000. The same benefit fund from 2025, $24,000. And then the remaining would be from parkland dedication reserves. Just to recap what that project is, the rehabilitation of the soccer field at the north side of the Best and Bash Arena. The project would include a full sod replacement, irrigation, turf irrigation underneath. We'd also be looking to shift the light poles just to make sure that the field size is going to be able to host sanctioned tournaments. And then also in that cost is some site improvements like additional bleachers, backstops for behind the actual goals. And then further down the road, as recommended by the Recreation Committee, we could look at making sure once that field size is correct and new, we're also looking at ways that we can improve on that site to make sure that multiple sports can be played on it. But the first step in this process is just ensuring that the turf is good and safe and full size, and then we can build on that as the years go on.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Is there any questions with respect to that? Go, Deputy Mayor Calvert, and then I'll go to Councillor Shank.
Thank you, through your worship. So am I correct that also included the program where they would look after it for a few years as well in that quote? Is that correct?
So through your worship, so I think what you're referring to is the turf maintenance that we would want to do to ensure that obviously we don't lose the progress that we've made. So that would fall under our parks budget under service contracts. And so that would be something that we would need to invest in for sure. There is already a healthy service contracts line in our parks department. We would probably need to increase that a little bit as we do more and more turf maintenance, especially on that brand new sod.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Go ahead, Councillor Shank.
I only, what my question is that you have found a source of, so we can get this done, all right, through the Community Benefit Fund. But are we gonna still apply for the grant also so we can use that money in other recreational spots? Not that I'm greedy, but you know, is there any way that can we throw it? You know what I mean? We have their procurement officer. I mean, when all I'm saying is that why not apply for it? And if you get it, great, then we can use that money elsewhere in other parks, you know?
Yeah, through your worship to Councilor Shank, I should have mentioned that. We already have applied for that grant again. And this is a complete backup. So we've applied for a grant for the full amount, but it is phased over a couple years is how this grant works. So either way, we have applied for it again. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Great, thanks, thanks, Mike. Is there anything else? No, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, next one. Not too long ago, I brought a report to council just going over the in-town trail development. And so we are looking to expand our in-town trail network. We would run this from Dairy Avenue along that rail bed up into Kraus, back down towards County Road 1, cross over that road and down along the side of Church Street into the Riverside Cemetery. We have a couple different loops inside the cemetery planned. And then the loop would ultimately connect back to Dairy Avenue just through the streets and sidewalks. And so that also gets us much closer to Springside Park, where the river trail starts. So this is for just the in-town trail development. Again, if you recall, Public Works, Parks, and Cemeteries will team up and do most of this work in-house. It won't happen until the fall based on other work plans. But this is something that we're super excited about. It's been a long time coming. The Trails Committee has done a lot of work planning out what this map would look like. And this is, just the start of expanding our trail network in the future.
Great, thanks, thanks, Chris. And I think we all are excited about it. So everyone's looking forward to the progress we're going to make on it. Is there any questions with respect to that? Yeah, go ahead, Councilor X.
Thank you, through you, your worship. I don't need to know who the company is, but has any RFP been developed and put out? I think there was one for the rail removal, the removal of the actual steel for the in-town portion. And so would they be commencing that over the summer so that the rest of the work could follow in the fall? I'm just wondering about timeline.
Yes, through your worship. So that is the plan, to remove the rails ahead of time so that when we're ready to do our work in the fall, we can go. But no, to answer your first question, there hasn't been a tender out for that service yet.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ange. Is there anything else? Nope. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so now moving on to the second division, which is facilities. So this department, there we go. This department oversees the operations, maintenance, and cleaning of the following facilities: the Best and Bash Arena, 99 Advance Avenue, our 3 community halls, which are South Fredericksburg, North Fredericksburg, and Selby, the library, the train station, town hall, and 12 Market Square, at least for now. Some division highlights from facilities: the town hall front steps and the asbestos abatement done downstairs, which I already mentioned. We also did phase 1 of our flooring replacement, rubber flooring replacement in the arena. We also replaced the dehumidifier in the arena, and we replaced the aging dock at Cuthell Lane Boat Launch.
Go ahead, Ange.
I would just like to reiterate for the public that the 14.5 full-time employees are the same ones that were listed at the very beginning of the presentation. So they fall within the 17. I just want to make that clear so that there's no conversation about that. Okay, thanks.
Yes, thank you for that. And yeah, we have 17 employees total. And then when I say 14.5, it's just because a couple cemetery staff don't actually do any facility or recreation stuff. So that's the difference. But yeah, we have 17 total. General financial overview of facilities. So you can see here that there's actually some savings over the total picture. We were able to really increase revenues in facilities. A lot of that has to do with ice rental, but also through community hall rentals and the like. Some moderate increases to things like materials and supplies. A lot of that has to do with heat and hydro. And then the transfer to reserve is, of course, the arena and resurfacer surcharge so that we can use that when needed. So capital enhancements for the facility side of things. The first two that you're going to see, one is the proposed, and then the next one is just a recommendation that is not proposed, and so but they're related to the same thing. So as I stated earlier, we completed the phase 1 of the rubber flooring replacement in 2025. We did the apron around the home hardware rink and the 2 dressing rooms closest to the lobby, which on that side are rooms 5 and 6. So this is phase 2, where we would do a very similar thing, but on the other side. So we would do the Goodyear rink apron, which is the rubber flooring between the dressing rooms and the ice surface. From when you first get into the Goodyear rink from the lobby all the way around to where the 2 arenas meet up at the back, as well as the first 2 rooms closest to the lobby, rooms 1 and 2. This flooring, as I stated last year, it is original to the build. It's lasted us 20 years. It is starting to show signs of wear and tear and lifting and bubbling in certain areas. And so because the apron around the Goodyear rink is a little bit wider on the Goodyear rink as opposed to the home hardware rink, we budgeted $70,000 to do what we did last year. It's a little more based on square footage, $80,000 for this year. Any questions on that before I get into the alternative option?
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. So Chris, the first round of replacement that you did, what were the lessons learned? And what is your true recommendation going to be at the end of this presentation?
Through your worship. So definitely we had some issues with supply and it was a bit of a staggered install. And it's still actually, there's still a small section left to be completed. So I wouldn't say that it went smoothly. We're super happy with the product. But in terms of the install, it didn't go perfectly as planned. I will definitely say that. I'll just jump right into the alternative option because I think I'll probably answer that question next.
Just for clarity here, you'll see a split on the funding source. So again, to keep within the parameters of what we have available to us in funding from our friends at the federal level, we are looking to fund a portion of this through OCIF, around $60,000, and approximately $20,000 would be on the capital levy. That is the split I should have noted that in this slide presentation. So that's how we have it built out in capital.
So the alternative option would be to combine phase 2 and 3 and do all of the same Goodyear apron rooms 1 and 2, but also do all the remaining dressing rooms that are still left to do. The original 3rd phase was to do the remaining dressing rooms. So by spending an additional $85,000 this year, we would basically eliminate phase 3 for next year. I can almost guarantee that the $85,000 today to do like everything else will be more next year. So that's why I wanted to present it as an option. My original plan was to phase this out over 3 years, and so I'm going to stick to that in terms of my recommendation, or that's why what's in the proposed budget is $80,000. So happy to answer any questions on that.
Yep, go ahead, Ange.
So I have some experience with rubber flooring from a previous life, and I'm wondering about dye lots, color matching, discontinuation of product. Is there any guarantee that it's all going to be the same 2 years from now? So that's one question. And can you negotiate if we were to investigate further, the alternative option, is there any negotiating on like you're buying more, it's all done at once, so they're not shipping people in to do installs at 2 different times. Like, can we get it down a little even more from the 165?
So through your worship, I don't think I can really negotiate because it will be tendered out. And a lot of what we've seen so far is based on square footage. And so it depends on the material, the labor costs. So those people will be submitting a proposal to our public tender. So I don't think there's like negotiating options available to us in that regard. But certainly there's no guarantees, but because we're doing this in a 3-year span, I've been given confirmation that it's very likely that because the timelines aren't very far apart, we're likely okay. We're safe from the dye lots and the changes that happen. It's not like they're going to discontinue a color just in a year difference. So if we're doing this 5 years down the road, then I would say for sure we're at risk. But because it's such a short timeline, we're probably okay.
Can I ask one more question and then I'll leave the flooring alone?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you, so it's just, you're just putting the material out there that you want to use, because based on our previous experience, we decided what we wanted for quality and color. So now it's up to who's going to actually supply it and who's going to install it. That's what you're actually tendering. You've defined the material that you're going to ask for.
Yes, based on our experience, we're going to be very specific on what we want.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy. And just with respect to the dye lots and the colors, the way it's phased out is that if we do the Goodyear side, really all that's left is 4 dressing rooms after that. So of course, it's like doing the flooring in your house, is that you're not going to notice, even if there's a slight difference, you're not going to notice the difference in the color from the apron to the dressing rooms anyway. So anyways, that's what I've noticed being there. So you won't notice the difference anyways, even if there was. But I agree with Chris, is that I don't think it's going to change. It's a fairly standard color, and I don't think it's going to change that much over the next couple of years. So is there anything else? Nope. Go ahead, Chris.
So the next one is the town hall roof coating. We intended on doing that in the fall of 2025, but we have pushed that to the spring of 2026. And Alan has already spoken to that a little bit. It's not a true carryover, but essentially we're just pulling that from the Market Square Reserve, and we will do that in the spring of 2026. Now moving on to cemeteries. This division is responsible for cemetery administration, cemetery operations, and maintenance. The town currently has 41 known cemeteries under our license. Of the 41 cemeteries, only 4 are active. Those active are Sandhill, Roblin, Riverview, and Riverside. All other cemeteries are deemed inactive. However, they are not closed. We do have 1 full-time cemetery administrator, and then we also have it's like 0.5 plus 0.5, 2 people, but only working 6 months each in the cemetery department.
Sure, go ahead, Mike.
Chris, you do St. Albans, you cut the grass, but we don't look after the interment there, right?
Through your worship, that's correct. We have done the maintenance at St. Albans. We are not the licensed operator of that cemetery, and we are working with them now to transfer that license over. But council will recall, in the service level standards that we approved, we are not going to maintain any cemetery that we are not the licensed operator of moving forward.
So may I ask? The only reason why, that's where I'm getting buried, guys. So I figured, I just want to make sure that the holy jumpers, I've already bought my plot. Is it, so the town's going to be looking after, or they're still looking after the licensing?
So we are in the process of transferring the operating license into the town's name.
Thank you.
And when that happens, we'll be the licensed operator of that cemetery and we'll continue to maintain it. The bonus is we'll also get the revenue associated with maintaining it and operating
Thank- Thanks, Mike. Yeah, is there anything else? Nope, go ahead, Chris.
Just some highlights for cemetery in 2025. Completed the restoration of the Riverview Vault and resecured the retaining wall. Completed the installation of 2 new columbariums. One was at Riverview and one was at Roblin. We obtained recognition from Roma and the BAO for our efforts in maintaining cemetery grounds and just going above and beyond for bringing our licensed cemeteries into compliance. We also updated the bylaw to regulate the operation of municipal cemeteries. Financial overview, you can see a very marginal change, actually savings in year over year from last year. So I won't spend too much time on it. Basically the same as last year. So 2 capital enhancements. You've seen the dump trailer on at budget time a few different times now. This is a need that we do have for our operations. Currently, there's only 1 dump trailer in the town. It belongs to the utilities department, and they use it quite often. It's not available to us. We want to buy a dump trailer for the mainly cemetery operations, but it'll also be used in our parks department as well, of course. This piece of equipment will really help with material hauling in and out. It would also be able to transport equipment for us as well. We have a utility tractor, mowers, and the like. So this has been on there a number of times in the past, and we're hoping to just keep asking. But we do feel that this is a nice piece to really improve efficiency. We're doing a lot of brushing. We're doing a lot of material hauling in and out. With the trail project coming up, we would definitely need a piece of equipment like this. And so I'm happy to answer any questions on the dump trailer if you have any.
No, don't see any. Hold on, Deputy Mayor Copper, go ahead, Brian.
So if we're to consider adding a dump trailer, could that not be something that could be done out of a DC charger because we're adding to our fleet? It's an addition versus a replacement?
I think, who wants to weigh in on that, Nathan or Michael?
Through your worship, it's not directly identified today as an additional fleet item. It's not truly rolling stock to my understanding. That could be, that DCs could be collected and used for ultimately. We can look further into it though. On first glance, I don't think so because it's not directly growth related, but I got to take that one back and report back.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Deputy Mayor Cowart.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? Nope. Go ahead, Chris.
So the next one is adding an additional cemetery software. The town's cemetery records are currently maintained through very fragile paper maps and annual Excel spreadsheets that are all done manually. We create risks of data loss, inefficiency, and limited public access. A cloud-based cemetery management system will digitize all our records, preserve historical information, and provide accurate plot mapping. So you can see here, I won't read them all, but there's a ton of benefits with this software. We've gone through our new process where departments go through IT. We fill out a software acquisition form to have IT look through that software and its capabilities and all those things. And we've sort of got that approved, and then we're looking at costing and bringing that to the budget. So it's been well thought through, and we're really looking forward to be able to add this so that we can the biggest benefit is just modernizing our operations and just supporting our long-term sustainability in terms of those records. When we received those records from the cemetery board, we spent a lot of time sorting through those records and getting those organized and in a position where someone knows where to look. And just modernizing that by digitizing everything is going to be crucial. It has the ability to allow for digital plot mapping, so for not only the staff to use, but for the public to use as well. So really cool software, and we think it's going to provide a lot of benefit to not only staff, but to the community.
Yep, go ahead, Ange.
Thank you through your worship. So the BAO, which I know is a very stringent, strict government body, will this software allow reporting to them to be easier? Because I'm quite sure that there has to be reports. I know there's reports that have to be submitted, both financial and just the state of the cemeteries. Will this allow you to report the information more easily to them?
Yeah, so through your worship, the biggest piece is the historical information that's happening and digitizing everything that you're doing. And so you can pull reports about all the things that you've done in the year. So yes, to answer your question short, it's very much easier if you have all of your historical records and you're organized and you digitized. It's much easier to pull those reports to be able to report back to the BAO on what you've completed in the year.
And I think Mr. Grant wants to weigh in. Go ahead, Matthew.
So on this and other items, I'd also say like this is where the municipality is going to get productivity gains. It's where we're going to avoid necessarily having to hire more employees by being able to empower the employees that we do have. If council hasn't had the opportunity to go to the second floor of 99 Advance, I encourage you to do so, not only for the fabulous baking that one of the employees does and makes available to people, which I try to avoid, but there's also like it looks like a papyrus scrolls from ancient Egypt in the back. And this is the equivalent of going from 1970s real home movies to Netflix. It's the productivity gains will be immense. The accuracy will be immense. And not unlike the, future things that we'll ask for finance to try to go for budgeting software to not necessarily have Excel with some fairly impressive, formulas. This is how we're going to get the productivity gains that we need by making one person be able to do the work of two people.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Grant, and thank you, Councilor Hicks. Go ahead, Mike.
Or actually two. First one isn't, I'm the least one knowledgeable. When all these softwares, when you purchase these softwares, is there a license fee that you're gonna have to pay every year on top of that? Like, have you calculated that into your budget that next year? Well, yeah, that's not my problem next. You know what I mean? What the fee would be? Like, is it gonna be absorbent with all the software? I don't know enough about computers, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, so for the cemetery software, that 22,000, the annual fee is minimal. That most of that cost is the implementation fees. So they got to set us all up. They got to get our records from us to be able to build it. So there's an upfront cost to implementing the software, but then there is an annual fee, but it's minimal and can be absorbed in the service contract line in that operating budget.
Your minimal, my minimal, about the same, Chris?
Maybe slightly different, but close.
Okay, all right. Another thing, Chris, is that St. Albans Cemetery is extremely old. A lot of United Empire loyalists have been buried there and everything else. So there's a lot of historical, where they're buried, where they're not buried, where my plot, where it is. You will have all that information?
So that's the information that we have on, in very old binded books or on like, as Mr. Grant said, pirate paper, I like to refer to it as. Yeah, so we have that information. And so what we want to do is digitize that information. And so anyone walking in off the street can find where things are and know where they are.
Great, thanks, Councillor Schenk. Is there anything else? Seeing none, sorry, go ahead, Alan.
Thanks, Your Worship. I just want to quickly add to Councillor Schenk's comment about annual fees on software. I know from my request that wasn't included, there is an operating annual fee for that. So yes, your answer to your question is typically there is an annual licensing fee that goes with the software that we would also have to absorb in operating.
My only question is that I don't know enough about it to even make a comment, but it's more of a learning curve for me. So if you're spending, let's say, if you buy a computer software for $20,000, would the license fee be 20%? You know what I mean? Would it be $4,000 a year to license it? I don't know what the percentage is that they charge off the original contract for the thing. I don't know.
Yeah, through your worship, from my understanding, it varies greatly depending on the software and what the licensing fee is required to do and to support. So I don't think there is a general, it's about 20% of purchase price. They're all over the board. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Grant.
through you, Mr. Mayor. The other thing on software, I would say, Councillor Schenk, is there's a certain aspect, like the software we're going to purchase today is going to get upgraded immensely over a period of time. So 6-7 years from now, it'll be a fundamentally different piece of software that you've already paid for up front, but your annual fee will be cybersecurity upgrades, will be upgrades to the software itself, will be all of those sorts of things, because it's no longer buy it out of the box and use it for years. It's, download it, install it, and then upgrade it every quarter.
Is there anything else? Nope. Go ahead, Chris. I think we're pretty close to the end, aren't we?
Yep, that's it for my department slides, and we just have the questions.
Any questions with respect to Chris's presentation? Seeing none. And I think that's, we've got to the end of this evening's budget deliberations, I think, have we not, Alan? Record time. Is there anything that anybody has held over that would like to speak to or ask, just to clean up before we look for a motion, note, and proceed? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Cower.
No, but thank you, through your worship. This is a whole different style of budget than what we've seen in the past, and it's really good. I just wanted to thank all the staff and all the work and effort you've put into this. It's most of it's as clear can be, and extremely well done. And I just want to thank you for that.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Is there anything else? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Just remember, if you never ask, the answer is always no. Dump trailer. The second thing is, there was a statement made about senior leadership came together to make it possible for that switch in lead hand versus supervisory role, et cetera, for Parks, Recreation, and Culture. And that just summarizes for me the growth and the clarity that this team has, and that is now, I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed with this budget and the collaboration that was done within throughout the whole organization. So yeah, great job, guys. I look forward to tomorrow night.
Great, thanks. Councillor Hicks, is there anything else? If not, thank you, folks. We'll look for a motion to note and receive the 2026 draft budget presentations, day one. Moved by Councillor Deputy Mayor Calver, second by Councillor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, motion is carried. Look for a motion for a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of the Corporation of Town of Greater Napanee. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, second by Councillor Martin. Read it first, second, and finally passed the 7th day of January 2026. All in favor of that motion? Opposed, motion is carried. And motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Shank, second by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, motion is carried. Thanks, folks, and we'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same place.